Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Ron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday, it should be when this video releases here, guys. And I do have to apologize briefly for the lack of streams this week. I've just been super busy, guys. Training, working, work is going great, but I know that we typically stream 3, 4, 5 nights a week, and I've been cutting back on that. So apologies for that. I still love you guys, and I'm trying to provide some good, fun content for you, and that's exactly what we have here today in the Pozharsky. Guys, if you're looking for just a middle-of-the-road ship that is not OP and a lot of fun to play, in my opinion, this is it. Now, of course, if you missed it from the Christmas update, I'm sure it will return probably for global and definitely in crates at some point in the future. But the situation that we get ourselves in this ship is probably, to me, one of the most fun situations to play in this game. A close quarters engagement with island cover, manipulating islands, using our smokescreen, torpedoes, basically all of the tools available to us from this boat. Now, normally I let a game like this play out. However, as you will see here very shortly, two of our ships were AFK, and we have a Bismarck who does end up helping us, but not in the way that I would have preferred. And honestly, I'm just complaining for the first 5 minutes of this game. So we are going to go ahead and give this one a narration. Also, to let you guys know what is going on in my head throughout these situations. Other than the fact that sometimes it sounds like that little meme from the Grinch when he's doing yoga. Yeah, so but right off the bat here, we are going wide in this ship. These type of ships, especially AP only ships, excel at getting flanks. Considering that the delta point is over here, we have this island cover to the right. We're going to go over here and see what we can do with this situation. And that is when we notice that the Miyoko and the Charlemagne are both AFK. Unfortunately, we get detected here, and honestly, right off the bat, this is just not an ideal situation that we want to find ourselves in. You can see that we are located, we were detected here, so we can assume that there is a destroyer on this flank. Knowing what you're going up against is always going to benefit you just to know what you could potentially be dealing with. For example, if this was a Friesland over here on this flank, now there's not a Friesland in this game, but just giving you guys an example here, as our Miyoku player comes back from the bathroom, pops his sonar and his plane, so we know that this is going to be an excellent flank to be on. But for example, if there was a Friesland on the enemy team, we know that we could potentially not have to worry about torpedoes. However, it was not a Friesland. I believe it was an Ognavoy and a USS Black, as we actually managed to get only a penetration from that Georgia there. But considering that we only have about 40,000 health and he can pen us from most angles, 1, 2, 3, 4 more pens, and yeah, we're going to be hurting a lot here. So we preemptively smoke in sort of this defensive position here. And we don't have much team support, so I'm going to have to manage and navigate these islands. However, you'll notice that the cap is not being captured yet, so the destroyer is not in the cap. We're not 100% sure if the destroyer is over here or in the middle. We do know that one of them is over at Alpha because we can see that on the mini-map, so paying attention to those spots and things like that are only going to benefit you when trying to determine what you're going up against. Now, I do have to be a touch critical here. We sent 2 destroyers over to Alpha, and while our team does manage to win that flank, you will notice throughout this game it ends up being what is essentially a 2-on-5 over here. And considering that 2 of our ships were AFK and the Miyoku, while he does provide some spots here in just a moment, he doesn't... I'll say that he could have been a touch more effective in a nice manner because some people are apparently hurt when I state the facts and the obvious here. But speaking of a fact, there is now a destroyer in this cap, and we are now spotted. The little bit of our mast just went past the corner of that island. We preemptively pop our hydro to make sure there are no torpedoes, and we take a gorgeous blind fire there and actually manage to hit the unspotted destroyer multiple times there. So just, you know, playing a little bit off of geometry and angles, you can figure out where these ships are. I love doing that, and then sometimes getting messages about hacking and cheating. Yes, I have the CC cheats there from Wargaming. But in the meantime, we actually got penned 2 or 3 more times from that Georgia, who again was a great player. He came in after the game. He was like, "Hey man, GG's, I was the Georgia." But I didn't see his name. Again, for some reason, it was dotted out. And I honestly think that's how it should be. You shouldn't be worried about names or players or, you know, who is in a boat. You should just be worried about playing the game and dealing with the situations at hand, not as who is in the game. Now, this is definitely more of a CC complaint, because sometimes you will see people shoot over other broadside ships to shoot me, and of course I'm not even one of the more popular CCs, so just a small little complaint from me there. I think the name should be hidden until the end of the match anyway. But here we can see there's a Shores, a Mines, an Ognivoy, and a Georgia in the back of the map there. And you will notice very shortly here, there actually comes a Florida in the middle of the map. So a 2-on-5 for a little bit of this engagement, but right now it is a 3-on-4. And that, of course, is until this Miyoku decides to back into the map. And considering he just spawned in and he is already missing half of his health despite us being shot by multiple different targets. Yeah, so and speaking of the situation that I was talking about, this Shores is actually deciding to blind fire me instead of trying to shoot the other 2 ships that were spotted. You will see here in just a moment, you can see the salvo that had come. We were previously undetected. So I'm not sure if he recognized me or if I was really the only thing he could shoot at, but that Mines pops out there. We take some beautifully well-aimed shots on him and get the elimination with 6 Citadels already under our Ribbons medals so far. But with the elimination of that Miyoku and that Bismarck backing up, it is now a 2-on-3 essentially, because the Florida has yet to reposition, but you can actually see him in the middle here in just a second. Yep, there he is. So once again, it is somewhat of a 2-on-4. Fortunately for us, the Charlemagne that was AFK actually manages to distract this Florida. And you'll hear me often say sometimes it would be better for players to be AFK, and this is one of those examples. If this Charlemagne simply sails in and turns broadside and blows up, the Florida now has nothing else to shoot at but one of these 2 flanks. And if he turns his guns towards us, then yes, we would have been put in an awful crossfire here. Now, fortunately, the Charlemagne is AFK, and this Florida is none the wiser, so he decides to go and chase after him so we can manage our concealment here. You will also notice on the other side of the map, being a 5-on-3, I think it is, or 5-on-4 on that side, the team manages to finally get those eliminations, and now we have somewhat of an advantage on that flank. And this is what I often preach to you guys. You don't have to be gung-ho aggressive all of the time. Now, in certain situations, it would work. I even said in the live stream here, I think the Bismarck should have pushed a little bit earlier, especially when the Ognivoy was getting the cap. He could have gotten the Mines. He could have damaged the Florida with his secondaries. He could have hydroed the Ognivoy there. But in the meantime, we have something else to worry about here. That is when the Georgia has decided to play this aggressively. And yeah, we're in a little bit of trouble. And honestly, this little shot right here is a huge mistake. I shouldn't have taken this shot. It's a low percentage shot anyway. We got the island symbol. We're not sure. I thought I was going to get behind this island in just enough time, and we were fortunate enough that a few of those were overpens. That could have been a massive, massive hit. Now, most of those shells hit in the front of our boat there, but again, you could argue that one of those could have been a Citadel. And yeah, just a silly shot in my opinion. We had our smoke screen. We could have gotten behind this island here. But again, managing island cover, backing up and moving into that situation. But finishing up on that topic about playing passive here. We are, 1.5 kilometers from this capture point. We have defended it. We have eliminated a ship in that capture point. If our team had lost the other flank, well, this game is over. There's nothing you can do, especially when you're playing solo. Now, in a division, I think you have more of a responsibility, especially because you have 3 potentially coordinated players. However, when you're playing solo and you're on this weak side here, all you can do is exactly what we did in this position. You put yourself in a, you're just a thorn in the side of the enemy here. And here is what we are talking about. This Florida is worried about this Charlemagne who is AFK, but because of our smoke and our position here, we are able to get a good bit of DPM into his broadside. And because he is distracted here in the moment, I decided to go ahead and press this attack with our Bismarck. As you can see, this Georgia is pushing the attack here, and he can just simply overmatch us, and we would be caught in a broadside crossfire from that Florida as soon as the Charlemagne is eliminated anyway, as he just was. Now, unfortunately for us, our Bismarck decides to turn broadside. However, he did, he played his side. He is eventually in the cap. I'm not gonna, he honestly, out of all the teammates I've had, he's probably one of the better ones anyway. He does manage to actually get a salvo into the superstructure or a little bit in that Georgia as well. And with a few torpedo hits here, we are able to all but whittle down that Georgia. I believe he fired a salvo which overpinned, and we are able to escape. On top of that, we are able to use this island here and use a little bit of island cover and dodge the salvo from that Florida. And because that Ognivoy is now outside of the cap and he smoked up, we are able to remain concealed in this position. So a high caliber 4 defends, 2 ships eliminated in what was essentially a 2-on-5, 2-on-4. I know someone's going to get technical in the comments here, but regardless, our team also managed to win the other flank, and we now have the Bravo capture point while us and a few of the other ships are defending that Charlie capture point, while that destroyer is essentially caught in sort of a corridor here. So as soon as we can eliminate this Florida, we should be sitting pretty. Now here is a touch of a mistake, if you want to call it that. I was looking at the Florida's guns, and you can see that he is fully turned away. His guns are facing forward, but in the midst of me looking there and trying to peek over at the Ognivoy, they actually do manage to eliminate that shores, and we are now the only remaining capital ship in terms of, stuff that the Florida would want to shoot at. Fortunately for us, we managed to peek just around this island cover and dodge yet another salvo while connecting a few more shells. Unfortunately for us, one of the other ships had him on fire, and he will be taken out there while we are going around this corner here and shooting at the Ognivoy, managing to connect just enough shells to give our teammates the kill there. So just a well-played flank. There were a few dicey situations, and of course RNG could have gone one way or another there with a few of those overpens. But that's what you have to play with. I have been absolutely shafted on RNG so many times with players sailing broadside. So in the 1 or 2 instances that I'm caught, I will take the shaft end of RNG. I will take the fat end of it this time. But just a fun game for you guys here on what should be a Friday when this is out. And again, I apologize for the lack of streams there, but we will be on tonight, I presume. Yeah, I love you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Let me know what you think of the Pozharsky and brawling cruisers and situations like that. To me, that is some of the most fun that you can have in this game, situations like that. But I love you guys. Have a great weekend, man. Super Bowl Sunday coming up here. But yeah, I love you guys. Aaron out. Peace.